A spike in violence here on the First Coast. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, homicides are up 32% compared to this time last year. Just this past Saturday, there were 3 shootings and a stabbing in the city. Don White is on your side live tonight outside of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And Don, we understand that this isn't just a local trend. What are experts saying could be behind this surge?
Good afternoon, Heather. That is right. The FBI reports that homicides increased 21% nationally during the first 3 quarters of 2020. That is the largest increase in 1 year since 1968. And here in Jacksonville, that means that we are well above the national average.
There is a pretty clear link, though, between the economy and deviance. And so when we see economic downturns, we tend to see crime go up.
Flagler College assistant criminology professor Dr. Joshua Beal believes stress from the coronavirus pandemic is a major reason homicides are increasing.
We are kind of seeing that people are getting kind of fatigue with COVID and fatigue with this new way of life, and that could lead to frustrations that are expressing themselves in violent ways.
First Coast News crime and safety expert Mark Bachman says another reason for the increase is more people are being killed in each homicide, such as this triple murder at the Callaway Cove Apartments in Moncrief earlier this month. Bachman also says domestic violence-related homicides are also on the rise with a link to the pandemic.
It forces people maybe to interact with people they don't necessarily want to interact with, and ultimately there's a dispute, and sometimes that dispute ends up in death of somebody.
Our experts say possible solutions are complicated.
If one of the causal mechanisms is this economic suppression, then trying to open back up economies would be a solution to help reduce some of this. Of course, in a vacuum, that's a good solution. Is that necessarily great in a public health mechanism? Probably not.
For law enforcement, the solution for them is to continue to have an omnipresence in the communities that are most at risk for violent crimes.
Malik Brown was Jacksonville's first homicide of 2020. I spoke to his former football coach who talks about how his loss still leaves a hole in the community. That is coming up at 6 o'clock. Live in downtown Jacksonville, Dawn White, First Coast News, on your side.
Don, thank you. 3 officers